We are often taught that human unity is the pinnacle of social achievement. If we can just put aside our differences and row in the exact same direction, there is absolutely nothing we cannot achieve together. The opening pages of the Bible seem to present a textbook example of this. In Genesis 11, the story of the Tower of Babel reads like a masterclass in human cooperation. All of humanity shares a single language and a common purpose. They gather together on a vast plain to pool their resources, manufacture bricks, and construct a monumental city whose tower reaches into the sky. But here is the tension. If total cooperation is the highest human good, why does the biblical text frame this incredible feat of engineering as a catastrophic disaster? The Babel narrative is actually an ancient cultural critique. Instead of simply explaining the origin of languages or architecture, it explores the dark side of human ambition. The true danger of Babel is what occurs when unity is weaponized. It becomes a forced, mechanical conformity, designed by rulers who want to erase individuality and make themselves into their own gods. To understand this, we have to look at the historical landscape of the ancient Near East. Early Mesopotamian empire building operated on a terrifying scale, constructing massive walls and ziggurats meant to project absolute dominance. The psychological motivation of the Babel builders is captured perfectly in their rallying cry, "Let us make a name for ourselves." This connects directly to the broader biblical arc of the fall. It is the defining act of human rebellion, a collective attempt to usurp divine authority and dictate the terms of reality. These ancient powers operated as an empire of sameness. They did not celebrate diversity. Instead, they relied on absolute assimilation, where conquered peoples were stripped of their unique identities and molded into identical subjects to maintain rigid control. This top-down unity serves only the rulers' egos, centralizing power at the expense of genuine human flourishing. The monumental architecture at Babel served as the physical, imposing manifestation of an arrogant, unchecked empire, far outstripping the requirements of a simple construction project. This brings us to the pivotal moment of divine disruption. God shatters their single, uniform language and scatters the builders across the earth. It is easy to read this scattering merely as an angry punishment, but looking closer at the narrative arc, it operates as a necessary, protective intervention. By confusing the languages, God effectively breaks the dangerous, unchecked conformity of this empire before it can entirely consume and corrupt humanity. The disruption at Babel is presented as an act of divine mercy. It dismantles a toxic system of mechanical sameness to save humanity from its own destructive pride. The narrative pivot that immediately follows Babel in Genesis chapter 12 is striking. Instead of dealing with massive empires, God focuses on the calling of one single man, Abraham. Abraham's mission is to quietly step out in faith so that his family might eventually bless all the nations of the earth. This is the exact opposite of Babel's loud, selfish demand to build a monument to their own glory. The New Testament offers a restorative answer to the Babel problem through the formation of the early relational church, described in the book of Acts. During the events of Pentecost, a diverse crowd of people gathered from across the known world are suddenly brought together under a single unifying message. But unlike the plains of Babylon, at Pentecost, differences aren't erased. They experience true unity, yet every person hears the message in their own distinct native tongues. This represents an organic, relational community, standing in direct opposition to the forced conformity of empire building. True community does not require us to erase our individuality just to build monuments to our own greatness. Instead, it invites us to embrace our diversity, bound together by a much higher restorative purpose. We are